This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Come on. Not over yet.
You are now tuned in to the Casual Colts Podcast. Everything about the Indianapolis Colts with William E. Ricks. What is up, everyone? This is William E. Ricks, and welcome to the latest episode of the Casual Colts Podcast. Thanks for everyone who tuned in and is ready to hear about all things Indianapolis Colts. And this week, we talk about some positive news regarding Carson Wentz and Quenton Nelson's injuries. Is coming back in week one wise, if that's even an option at all? We also continue our regular season preview series, and we are on week 7 and 8 on this episode. Can backup Jacob Eason keep Indy afloat while Wentz is still out? Then I'll cover the Colts' recent moves to secure their future and how they are set to be contenders for years to come. And lastly, I'll give my opinion on some Madden ratings, and you definitely don't want to miss that. Oh yeah, I'll be ready for another jam-packed episode of the Casual Colts Podcast. Let's go! This week, we have some good injury news to bring you guys. Carson Wentz and Quenton Nelson both went down with identical foot injuries that required surgery last week. The initial timeline was that it would be 5 to 12 weeks before either of them return, but things are looking more positive as both of them are on track to be ahead or on schedule to return. ESPN's Chris Mortensen reports that they are doing well after surgery, so well that playing in week 1 is a possibility. And yeah, I'm excited that they're doing well, and as good as this is to hear, I don't want either of them coming back in week 1. Straight like that. The NFL season is a marathon, not a sprint, and everybody should know this by now, and I'd be much more comfortable if Wentz and Nelson take longer than the 5-week minimum to get back. God forbid they rush or come back too soon, play, get hurt, and look, they're out for another long period of time. We need to play it safe with 2 vital pieces to our offense and arguably our franchise's future. Maybe giving them until week 3 or 4 gives me more ease of mind. Given Wentz's injury history, I'd rather him take as much time as he needs to get back to 100%. Not to mention the money Indy's paying him. So this is like an investment. You gotta nurture your investment, you know? Good feet and good footwork are essential for an offensive lineman, making me even more cautious with Nelson. Since we drafted him, he's been a warrior, so he doesn't have to prove any kind of toughness or things of that nature. If anything, he should welcome the time off. He's been a steady workhorse for us, so take this time to heal and recharge. We have enough talent in the backfield and at other spots on the line to survive until the 3-time All-Pro gets back to 100%. It's been a little over 2 weeks since both players underwent surgery, so we should get a clear analysis of the rehab in the coming weeks. Mortensen reported that the 2-week post-surgery period is where the team will get a better outlook on their returns. Nevertheless, getting this news can put fans at ease a little, as things are looking good for 2 of the Colts' most important players. But until there's more clarity, the team still needs to operate as if Wentz and Nelson are out indefinitely. In this past week, 6th-round rookie Sam Ehlinger got some reps with the first team during training camp, which turned some heads. Current starter Jacob Eason has been okay since taking over for Wentz, so this might be something experimental by head coach Frank Reich. However, I will say that Ehlinger's mobility makes him a more versatile weapon for Indy's offense. He was a force running the ball at Texas and could be another potent runner for Indy's backfield. Not saying he should start, but maybe he should get more reps with the ones so we can see what he's made of before the season starts. And I'm interested to see him perform in the preseason. Now, is this a Indy QB battle? I don't know about that, but Ehlinger is now on the radar as a potential option until Wentz is healthy. The Colts quarterback room will be the talk of their season until Wentz is back, and that's expected given the circumstances and storylines surrounding him entering 2021. But we move on to how Indy can survive without him in my regular season preview series, which is all hypothetical. This is the 3rd week without him, so things should get easier, right? I don't know. You got to stay tuned and find out next on the Casual Colts Podcast. You are now tuned in to the Casual Colts Podcast. So come as you are, and as always, keep it casual. We jump back into our regular season preview series with Indy facing two formidable opponents in Week 7 and 8. Starting in Week 7, the team travels to Levi Stadium to face the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this game is tricky to predict because the Niners could be two different teams by this time. They could be the Jimmy G 49ers, which are anchored by a good defense and a running game, or they could be the Trey Lance 49ers, which has yet to be seen. Without Wentz, this game will be much closer than it should be. Both teams' running games will take center stage, and it will be a physical game. We'll say Jimmy G is the starter, but the Colts defense keeps momentum from their Week 6 win against the Texans. They force Garoppolo to beat them by himself late, and he won't step up to the challenge. The Colts offense, on the other hand, continues to muddle through games without Wentz. Luckily, the three-headed monster of Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, and Nyheim Hines keep the team afloat. All backs score in this contest, giving Eason a much-needed boost. The second-year quarterback throws a touchdown and one pick, which seems to be the norm for him. But despite his mediocre play, hypothetically, he does have enough for the Colts to escape with the win. Indy leaves the West Coast 6-1 with a 28-20 smash-mouth win. Now 6-1, that's quite the start for Indianapolis. And for those who might think this isn't biased, this is just something that I'd like to do for fun, and the Colts schedule starts favorable and they have a talented roster. I just want to make sure I put it out there because people are going to be talking about why are you having 6-1, blah, 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 blah. Get over it. It's a fun prediction series. But moving on, the Colts have another division game in Week 8, and can they improve to an impressive 7-1 and go to 3-1 without Carson Wentz? Come back to find out on the Casual Colts Podcast. Don't go yet. There's still more Colts content coming your way, so keep it locked to the Casual Colts Podcast. So Indianapolis is riding high at 6-1, but things come to a halt in Week 8. The Tennessee Titans come to Lucas Oil Field, and they have revenge on their minds. If you remember, I had Tennessee losing our first matchup with the Colts in Week 3. Their lack of chemistry and a young secondary were the main reasons they fell in that matchup. But 5 weeks later, it's an entirely different story. The Titans offense is now a well-oiled machine with Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, and Ryan Tannehill gaining cohesion. They take advantage of Indy's secondary, specifically Rock Ya-Sin. He's usually the target of choice for opposing offenses, and that rings true again this time around. But his shortcomings are only a minor part of the Colts' lousy day in pass coverage. Derrick Henry also has a productive day, but the Titans' passing attack is the engine that drives this team this week. They found their rhythm through the air early and didn't look back. The Colts' offense couldn't keep up with them, unfortunately. Eason does have his best game against the young secondary, throwing 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. However, that interception comes in a crucial moment and it seals the team's fate. The second-year signal caller's career game is all for naught as the Colts lose against the Titans 31-24. So 6-2 after 8 weeks, especially given the circumstances, isn't too bad for the Colts. This should have us toward the top of our division and potentially a top seed in the AFC depending on how other teams fare. I was actually thinking of doing a weekly franchise on Xbox for this season. Like I play each game live on Twitch and see if we can have the same or an even better season than Indy in real life. Would you guys be interested in that? I think it would be a fun experiment to do, you know? But anyways, the Colts are staying strong at 6-2 and 2-2 without Wentz since Week 4 in our early regular season preview series. I'm excited to see what's to come next And given how Wentz recovers from injury in real life will determine if he can come back in our preview series also. So I'm going to stay on top of the Wentz news and developments. But coming up next on the Casual Colts Podcast, we'll talk about how the Colts have established their franchise's future and how Indy's core makes them a contender for years to come. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hey, this is William E. Ricks, host of the Casual Colts Podcast. I want to thank you for tuning into my show. And as always, make sure to follow us on social media. We have a Twitter account at Casual Colts Pod. We have an email at casualcoltspodcast@gmail.com to hit us up with any questions, concerns, smack talk, or just want to stop by and say hello. And we also have a YouTube page, Casual Colts Podcast. We'll also be on Instagram and Facebook coming soon. So make sure you catch it on there also. But I'm done talking. Let's get back to the content. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you're ready for the next segment. The Colts have been one of the more stable franchises in the NFL. They might not get the recognition they deserve, but Indy has been under the radar for being a consistent and winning franchise. They've had a 500 or better record in 18 regular seasons and have made the playoffs 16 times since 1998. The front office and coaches have been essential during that span, and the Colts have secured their head coach and GM for the foreseeable future. Both general manager Chris Ballard and Frank Reich received contract extensions through the 2026 season this past week. Both men are deserving as they have worked together to establish a new identity and culture in Indianapolis. They turned a very finesse and pass-heavy team into a gritty one that dominates the run game. It's not pretty, but it's effective for the Colts personnel. Having Ballard and Reich extended show that the team is committed to them and their mission to get this franchise another Super Bowl. The duo has shown their ability to draft and acquire quality players and develop them into individuals who fit their scheme. That is an underrated talent in the NFL, and having a coach and GM on the same page makes this even more substantial. We've seen Reich and Ballard's early results with Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, and Phillip Rivers. Just imagine if they can have a stable situation at quarterback with the roster around them. It would make a world of difference and could get Indy another championship. They hope to have that at Wentz and hope that this foot injury is the final thing they have to worry about. The Colts are establishing their core on the roster also. They signed Braden Smith, Kenny Moore, Darius Leonard, and DeForest Buckner to long-term deals through at least 2023. Wentz is locked up with his expensive contract, and we have multiple young players on favorable deals. Our cap isn't too crazy, so Indy still has the flexibility to make moves when necessary. Give credit to Ballard for putting his chips in the right places and Reich for developing the talent he brings in. The front office is set, and we have the proper pieces in place for us to not only contend for the playoffs, but win a Super Bowl. Colts fans haven't felt that championship feeling in over a decade, and we are hungry for another Lombardi. This core has what it takes. Now, it's a matter of putting it together for just one season. Thanks for tuning in to the Casual Colts Podcast. I hope you're enjoying this episode's content, and stay tuned because we got much more stuff to get into. Don't touch that dial. So for those who aren't well versed in the video game world, Madden 22 is going to drop in the coming days, and the player ratings were revealed for the game over the past 2 or 3 weeks. I will say the Colts received some very, very disrespectful ratings. Let's begin with the highest paid linebacker in the NFL, Darius Leonard. He received an 89 rating, which is a slap in the face given everything he does on the field. I'm not sure what the Madden ratings adjusters are watching, but it is in number 53, the Maniac for Indianapolis. He should have broken the 93 overall threshold at least. I'm disgusted. Madden, please call me and explain how this rating was decided upon, because I need to know. And he's not the only one that got a disrespectful rating, as Braden Smith, our tackle, got an 84 overall rating, which is also disrespectful. He's given up 0 sacks. Literally 0. Look it up. In his first 3 years, which is over 470 pass blocking snaps. Should I say more? He is way more than an 84 overall. So that's not fair. It shows that the Madden ratings adjusters don't watch Colts games, because if they did, they would see how great he is. But let's move on. Oh, let's not move on, because Kenny Moore has the same exact 84 rating. And Kenny Moore is one of the better slot corners in the league. And did they not see what he just put together last season? Like, I don't understand what's going on with these Madden ratings. I can't believe this. So, like, Madden, we must talk, like, for real. This ain't what we doing this year. Somebody's going to have to explain these ratings to me. And moving on from the disrespect of Leonard, Braden Smith, and Kenny Moore, Wentz got a 72 rating, which, I mean, it's kind of harsh. I know he had an awful 2020, but maybe a 75 would have been fair. You know, I don't think he deserved to be that low. I know that his injury rating is probably really, really low. I can tell you that much. If anything, something that was a pleasant surprise was Marlon Mack being rated at 84. We all know that I'm a fan of Marlon Mack, and I thought that they would really try to disrespect him given his injury last year, but they gave him an 84, which is still the highest rated back on the Colts roster. So they're still giving my man some respect. So I'll let them live. With that one. Ryan Kelly also got an 87 rating, and that's well deserved, as he's not being talked enough as one of the more consistent and more stable centers in the league. So yeah, I think that was a well-deserved rating. So it seems like Madden isn't all wrong when it comes to ratings, but when they miss completely. And we're going to move into something that's also questionable about Madden's ratings when it comes to the Colts, and that's their team overall rating. And they have an overall rating of 80, which is questionable. Why are they barely above teams like the Chicago Bears, New York Giants, the Texans, like the Bengals? Like, we are much better than those teams on paper, and we showed it last season. So the disrespect is real, but it's okay. The ratings adjusters will just be hard at work updating our team overalls during the season. That's all we can do now. So thanks for the motivation, EA Sports. I hope the Colts are watching. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Casual Colts Podcast. Big thanks to all subscribers, listeners, reviewers, and commenters who tune in every week to listen to me chat about everything Indianapolis Colts. I appreciate you guys. Make sure to catch past and future episodes by subscribing to wherever you listen to your podcast at. We are streaming everywhere, literally, so just search the Casual Colts Podcast and we'll pop right on up for you guys. Also, make sure to follow us on social media. We have a Twitter account at Casual Colts Pod, a YouTube page, Casual Colts Podcast, and if you have any questions, comments, topics, smack talks, or just want to review the show, give us an email at casualcoltspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from our listeners. Thanks again, you guys. I hope you all have a great week. Keep it casual, and you know what I'm going to say, go Colts. Take care, everyone.